Right, 25 May 2024, and today is Africa Day. There is a lot of celebrations around Africa, and I've got a special guest here with me, Mkoma G. How are you?
Hello, Gambak. How are you, Mninong?
Okay, fantastic. And what are your thoughts on Africa Day, Mkoma?
Africa Day is a day for Africa. My thoughts are that by this time, we should have sorted out our issues in Zimbabwe so that every Zimbabwean will celebrate Africa Day with delight and joy, respecting human rights, respecting democracy, and also respecting our Lord God. Africa Day brings Africans together. We need to look back and see if Africans are together. We also need to look at Zimbabwean to see if we are part of Africa. Are we developing in the same way that Africa is doing? Are we respecting one another the same way as Africa is doing? I get very, very worried or on the eve of Africa Day, we have some people threatening other people in such a beautiful continent. Is not humane. We need to look at ourselves. Doesn't matter how many or how much differences we have as a country. We need to find each other. We need to dialogue in a Pan-Africanist way, just in the same way as we do when we dialogue with people that are coming. I see a lot of things happening here for other people. I do not see why we can't do the same. I'll go into specifics later, but the issue is that are we proper Pan Africans? And if we are proper Pan Africans, what are we doing for fellow Africans in Zimbabwe? Thank you, Gamba.
Okay, so thank you very much, Mkoma, for that. Let's now go into the developing story of the shadow cabinet that was announced yesterday by Timba. And Timba has said that Nelson Chamisa is in support of the shadow cabinet that was announced by the CCC. And the shadow cabinet has people like Joanna Mamombe, Agenzi Gumbo, all the usual people that were there in the CCC. What is your comment on that? Is Chamisa connected to the CCC?
I am commenting as an ordinary person on what Honorable Senator Timba has done. I was just listening to the shadow cabinet, which I think are men of stature. I will not be able to comment deeply on whether what he has done is right or wrong. I guess that's what politics is and what political parties would do, especially if they feel they are strong on the ground. I just hope that all the announcements that they are making, they are backed and supported by the generality of the people of Zimbabwe, because you cannot be a shadow cabinet without a support base. I just hope they do have that. And you also go on to mention that they have the support of NC. Again, I do not comment for NC, but I look things as they are, things that we all have heard in public. We had Chamisa left Triple C. That's the key thing that we need to observe first. He then did not come back to Triple C as far as I know. And he does not align himself with Triple C up to until such a time that Chamisa comes back and says he has joined Triple C. I would not myself say that there is any link between any political party with Advocate Nelson Chamisa, if you want, because last time I mentioned and I said President Advocate Nelson Chamisa, people then started asking what I meant. But what I'm saying is Chamisa left Triple C and he left with reasons. and the reasons are very clear and in the public domain. He was talking, among other reasons, that Triple C had been heavily infiltrated. And that's exactly the point where we are. There's not been any other comment by Chamisa that Triple C has been cleansed. He can now be aligned with Triple C. People can talk about Chamisa, people can talk about NC. Yes, people can align them with Triple C, but I think, sorry, with Chamisa, but I think up to until he himself, Chamisa, comes back and advises the public that this organization that I left has now been cleansed of what I talked was infiltration. It is not a simple exercise for a full president to leave a functional political party with so many candidates that can be elevated to a shadow cabinet is not easy. And it is not easy for someone to say the party is contaminated, I'm leaving it. And then tomorrow, someone now comes and says, oh no, Chamisa is aligned with us and things like that. But he resigned, didn't he? We all know he resigned. If I were the Triple C, I mean, the other Triple C, I guess, I would first find ourselves, maybe talk to the Chabangu side, Ngube side, understand one another, form a pact, form something like that, and then you can come up and announce yourself. We are, as Zimbabweans, very confused which Triple C has a shadow cabinet because there is another Triple C. Of all we know, we've seen on social media, the other Triple C being claimed to be discussing or in negotiations with the government. Now, I don't understand how it works because then Triple C is negotiating or discussing with government or having talks with government. Then we have another Triple C, or is the same Triple C, I'm not sure, which is announcing shadow cabinet. But then you find they all, one point or the other, would want to associate themselves with the NCO Nelson Chamisa. I doubt very much that Nelson Chamisa is in this one. Or I can categorically say, sorry about that, that Nelson Chamisa is not in Triple C. He's not associated with any Triple C whatsoever. He's a man of stature, he's a man of his words, he's an honorable man of high integrity. He would not quit and then come back in the back door. That's highly unlikely. That's my opinion.
Okay, that is very clear, Nkoma, and I would like to thank you for that. I just want to get clarification on, I've seen you at many, many rallies, which were addressed by Gift Osalo Siziba and MP Duekos Banda. What is the next move? What is happening with the rallies?
Um, the rallies are basically meeting the people. And as I said earlier on, or in one interview with Gabakwe Media, one of the biggest medias in the Zimbabwean diaspora and community and Zimbabwe, I follow democracy. If I am invited to attend democratic gatherings, I have no reason not to. More so as a Pan Africanist, we are celebrating May Day today, or we are celebrating Africa Day today. I think now the move in Africa is about democracy, and that's exactly that we want to do in Zimbabwe. You ask me what the next moves are, and I will do say again, this is my thinking. From what I've seen, from the momentum that they have gathered over time, I think the rallies are ongoing, and that will not stop anytime soon. These are people that are trying to resonate with all democratic forces in this country. And also, these are people that are Pan Africanist. These are people that would want to emulate what other African nations are doing. Many, many African nations have now moved in to embrace democracy. So, yeah, I think there will be more rallies coming, or there will be more rallies around the country by these guys. This is my opinion because they've done it well and they've done it successfully. in the past.
Okay, and then in terms of Sadak, what is your view on the Sadak process? Are you still pushing for a fresh election? As well, you've talked to these guys, you're with them every day. What is happening with the fresh election?
Elections were not conclusive, as you know, and as a Zimbabwean and also as a Pan Africanist, I also believe that SADC should be an organization of integrity. It also should be an organization of honor. We know what happened. We were not election observers. We were looking on the sidelines as observers, one after the other, commented on the elections. I'm not sure whether it is anything that would be honorable for anyone. Sion, for example, they cannot backtrack on what they said was 17 out of 20 not correct. As Africans and as we celebrate Africa, we also should introspect, look inside, and see what we are. I've seen a lot of movements by Sadak up and down to Zimbabwe and back as if now there is some kind of business relationship, not what. So this is a departure from principles of Sadak. You say something, and once you say something, and here you say the elections did not meet the SADC criteria, and 17 17 factors were not met in that election. I think if we were a SADC to be observed or looked at outside, inside, as honorable, as organizations of integrity, we should follow through with what we said. I do not see how SADC can now depart from what they said. Then Sadak will be laughing stock. I've seen actually in the papers a lot of things that I have always questioned whether this is or these moves are moves of integrity by Sadak or not, because Sadak said something, and when they say something, they have or they seem not to have stuck to what they said. It is Sadak that said one, two, three things. Are we following on the one, two, three things? A body such as Sadak is looked at not by just Zimbabweans, by people outside. Are we promoting good governance as Sadak? Are we promoting democracy as Sadak? These are the things that they have to look at. No matter how difficult things are, Sadak should have prevailed. Sadak should follow on. And you do not then blame Zimbabweans for looking down on Sadak. Sadak should just have followed what they said, and that way they would be no one. We're talking of investment here. We're talking of tourism. We're talking of growing our economies, etc., etc. How do we, when we have a regional body that does not stand up to regional countries that break SADC principles and SADC beliefs, values, and others? I am worried about SADC at the minute, Gambakwe. It is worrying me that SADC is behaving the way it is behaving. They are not calling their member countries to order. I then don't see why they should be a regional grouping that represents countries as they purport to in the way they are doing it. Because the other day I saw I think the Secretary General of SADC or something like that, Magosi, was around here. Instead of him going into principal issues that they raised, he was touring investment entities. And I thought, my God, what is this going to, or how is this going to help Zimbabwe? How is this going to help Africa? Is this guy real? I wondered.
Okay, so I guess this is a topic that we're going to be exploring. This is obviously going to be happening until August. Is there anything else you want to say before we let you go?
Well, I really wanted to comment on the upholding of human rights, upholding of freedoms of association, freedoms of speech, and other things that we are always blamed off. Yesterday, like I told you, I've said it in the open that Gift of Stalo Sisiva is a friend, a very close friend. I was so worried that I read on social media or listened on social media the young boy being threatened by a fully fledged provincial minister. I think that's a wayward behavior that should be whooped into line. And I think the minister owes an apology to the young man. That's all I want to say. And I also want to thank Zimbabweans for their character and stature and behavior. Zimbabweans are a resilient people. There are so many things that would have thrown Zimbabweans into behaving badly, but I see us giving dialogue a chance. I actually do not see why Zimbabwe economy should be where it is. We have tried so many things, and we always believe in academics. When academics is failing us, people are suffering in Zimbabwe. People are in dire straits. I urge the government to, or the ruling party, or the president of the ruling party, to heed people's calls for dialogue. We need to fix our economy. I was also listening to Senator Timba when he talked something that is so current and that is so much in the public eye when he talked about the government being able to build 18 new villas for presidents that are coming for the Sadak summit. I haven't seen them myself. I don't think there's so many people that have seen it or toured the villas. But you can understand what Comrade Timber or what Senator Timber was trying to say. 18 villas being built for head of states. That is a massive investment. I've seen a lot of traffic going up and down Parliament or the new Parliament area. That is also massive. One wonders how much government has spent on those, which could have been spent on other pressing issues, our healthcare. Let me not talk about other parts of. We don't want to talk about infrastructure. We don't about talk about social services. Let's just look at our health system. Let us not talk about the unfinished projects like Mbudzi interchange, where we wanted to start off with. Forget about that because there are so many multitudes of these projects that were promised a few months or a few days before elections that have not finished or completed. I would say most projects actually that were started by this Second Republic have not been finished or they are not even midway through. Let's go back to the issue of the villas. The villas for a president. That's a lot of money, a whooping amount of money, when we do not have just basic medication like paracetamol or Paracet, if you want. When we do not have medicines, when people are sleeping on floors in hospitals, what exactly are we doing for head of states coming for 5 days? We are willing to go all the way. We're talking of things that are real here, Gambako. We're not talking of things that you'd want to count or add up or economize. No, we are talking about villas. Villas that will be dinosaurs after the departure of heads of state. The government is so willing to spend millions and millions of dollars. Imagine how many hospitals would have had so much equipment with that amount that we're just spending for 5 days for head of states. The level of desperation to cling on to power is amazing. That's all I wanted to say to the people of Zimbabwe. Thank you very much, Gambako.
Thank you very much, Mkomaji, and you're always welcome here to give updates, especially as we move towards Sadak. I know it's going to be very important for everyone to keep updated, and also as we all look for a guidance. You have been a stabilizing person for everything that has been happening, and I thank you for the guidance that you've given to everyone. and we can see that there is an adult who is taking care of business, and I appreciate everything that you've been doing. And I hope that next time we will have Ostalos here and MP Dubeko and Chibaya here. All the people that I see you with in public and setting the ground for what is coming. Thank you very much, Mkoma, and I'll talk to you again later. So I think you are free to leave the room so that I can conclude with the news here, and then I'll talk to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, right. So I think that was very clear, and what I would like to say is I always want to give you an update on what is happening in the Triple C. You saw that yesterday there was an announcement by Timba where he made certain appointments, and he calls that a shadow cabinet. And he said that people in that shadow cabinet include Gladys Tlachayo, Joanna Mamombe, Agency Gumbo, Ellen Shiredenga. And I think what is key here is that these are people that you know. And he said that these are connected to Nelson Chamisa. But Mkoma G, he just said that he doesn't believe that Chamisa is connected. And I hope that I'll be able to get Mkoma Timba here so that we can have a chat. I also try to get MP Dubekos Banda and Ostalos and Chibaya. We'll try to get them here. We're moving to a new stage now where we're going to be having the guests here so that you can understand directly from the people that are involved in what we call the Blue Movement. I'm going to call it the Blue Movement for now. I don't know what it's going to be called, but that's what I'll call it so that we don't have ambiguity. Now, I want to go to the news quickly. And yesterday we did obviously present the post-mortem of Pastor Tafmane Masaya. That is going to be very, very important going into Sadak. The Zimbabwe Republic Police is refusing to investigate the murder. So please go and watch the post-mortem that I did last night. And also, there was a timeline that was done last night by Dr. Clarence of the time from when he was abducted, the time he was found dead. You can go and have a look at our website, Kambakwe YouTube channel. There's always a lot of news over there. And then the current developments that have taken place last night. So I'm going to have only 3 stories. There's a massive development that has taken place, and this is to do with the appointment of the national coach. So Zimbabwe has appointed 3 interim national coaches, and these are people who are already in the soccer field or who are already coaching. So they appointed Manika Diamonds coach Jairus Tapera as the interim Zimbabwe Warriors team coach, and he's assisted by Ngezi Platinum coach Tekshua Chiragwe and Greenfield's coach Samuel Chaminuka. So that is a massive development overnight. You know that ZIFA has been failing to appoint an interim coach for Zimbabwe, and Zimbabwe is just about to play in a few days' time, but there was no coach. However, the ZIFA normalization committee has not finished its work, and this is going to be something that we're watching. Sport is very important in Zimbabwe because it's something that connects our country to other countries. Then we have the launch by Mnangagwa of the new National Youth Service in Uzumba. So this happened yesterday, and we also need to watch this because we don't know what is going to happen if this is going to result in the old violence that was there with the old green bombers. So these young people, they're in the National Youth Service, and I do not know what the plan is here. So basically, they're being made to wear uniforms, they're being made to chant slogans, and they were dancing to Kutonga Kwaro yesterday. So this is basically a ZANU-PF thing, and I don't know if it's going to work. We all know what happened last time there was a National Youth Service. There was a massive violence. Young kids like this were used to violate communities. They were made to go to bases where they took and tortured people, and some of them were involved in murders. That's why you see all these drug-related issues in Zimbabwe. Many young people are traumatized from the things that they did in the period around 2008. So let's see what happens with Mnangagwa's appointments or the reintroduction of the National Youth Service. It's a very, very worrying development that has happened. And then I want to look at the story of a death that has happened at a primary school in Mutare, that is Barring Primary School. This is a training story in Mutare. A young child was playing in the soccer field and he was crushed by a steel pole. So Barring Primary School is quite a popular school in Mutare, and this is the sports field here. And the child was playing with other children, 6-year-old ECD students, and they were not being supervised. And this child is called Anesu Jacob Chikodzore. And as I said, this is a trending story in Mutare. Everyone is very concerned about what has happened to Barring Primary School, which is a very popular school in Mutare. And this child died over there. And then I want to see if there's any news in the Herald newspaper. So let's look at the Herald newspaper Zimbabwe and see if they've published anything. As you know, that there's an election in South Africa this coming week, and this is going to be a massive development. So let's look at the newspaper, what is published in the Herald newspaper today, so that we can see if there's anything of interest. And I'm going to be sharing the newspaper with you on the screen. I'm not obviously going to read the whole newspaper, but let's look at what is happening here. Mnangagwa is talking about launching the National Youth Service, as you can see over there. So there is Chiwenga on the stage, Mnangagwa at the center, and you can see Mohadi at the end over there. These guys have launched the National Youth Service. What is the plan for Zimbabwe? And then I want to look at other stories. Let's look at the right. There is obviously the media space. The Herald, Sunday Mail, Star FM among the top 24 top 200 brands. So there's the top 200 brands. I'll try to find you which ones are the top 200 brands over in Zimbabwe. And then Mnangagwa has met with Jays Marabini. And that is something that is being shown on the screen. I just want to laugh when I see Mnangagwa's face, how he's looking. So I want to share that with you too. It's a very interesting picture of Mnangagwa with Jays Marabini. And sometimes Mnangagwa looks like Anangagaro and a whiskey, like in this particular picture. So that's James Marabini has not been feeling well for a very long time, and he was recently given a car by Wikino Chuvayo. Sorry, apologies for that. Actually, I made it bigger instead of smaller. So that's James Marabini meeting with Mnangagwa over here, and this is an interesting picture. But you know what is happening? Mnangagwa is trying to attract the young people using musicians, using popular people. That's what he's trying to do. And obviously, it's not working. No normal person can support ZANU PF, especially with what they're doing. You heard Mkoma G talking about the threats on Gift Osalo Siziba. And Owen Mudangube is becoming quite a loose cannon. He just talks anything that he likes in public. He makes threats, and no one takes him seriously. I'm not scared of Owen Mudangube. No one is scared of Owen Mudangube. It's like, you see that old man who goes to the bar and just starts talking. He's not a danger to anyone, and no one is scared of him. Then let's look at the appointment here, the story. They talked about the appointment of Warriors interim coach, Jairus Tapera. That is the story that is over here. And you can see the other many other stories in the Herald newspaper. So you can go and check it out. But this story is very significant. What is Jairus Tapera going to do? Is it up to the task? And the assistant coaches, how are they going to work together? And they're all big coaches in the PSO League. And the PSO League of Zimbabwe is quite vibrant. It's moving very fast. But is this what we need? Is this the solution? ZIFA and ZANU-PF. ZANU-PF has interfered for a very, very long time in the politics, in the sports of Zimbabwe. You saw Anna Philip Chiangwa over there. And I think politics is what is destroying the game in Zimbabwe. So they need to remove the politics from the game and let the professionals do the work that they're supposed to do. And I hope that Jairus Tapera here will be able to get this thing working, will be able to get ZIFA to where it needs to be. So let's recap, and then we'll go to the comments. So to recap, I had Mkoma G here. He's been moving around with the guys in the blue movement. So what I call the blue movement, that is Anna Ostalos, MP Dubeko, and Chibai. And he's saying here he does not believe that the shadow cabinet that was announced by Timba yesterday is connected to Chamisa. And this shadow cabinet includes people that you know, Gladys Hlachwayo, Agency Gumbo, all these people that you normally know. But Nkomaji says he does not believe Chamisa is linked to it because Chamisa has left the CCC. When the time comes, Chamisa is going to announce the new thing. And so let's see what happens. I do not believe that this is the solution. And I do not believe that is how dialogue is going to start. Chamisa will have dialogue with Mnangagwa, and that is what he has asked for. But I don't believe that the dialogue that they're looking for will come from parliament. I believe that it will come from outside of parliament. Mkoma G has also talked about Sadak. Kuti Sadak is getting lost. Elias Mahosi, who is currently in Zimbabwe, has been doing business meetings instead of looking at the principles of the Sadak, which say that the election in Zimbabwe was rigged. 17 out of 20 criteria not met. So that is Mkoma G who talked to me this morning. Mkoma Peter Ganya. You can go and look at the interview that we had earlier on if you're not here. And then let's look at the comments and quickly end this. Morning Gambakwe, Mkoma Thomas Maposa saying, Morning Gambakwe. There is a story that happened in Kakamas. A Zimbabwean guy died while on duty laying underground pipes. Apparently, the employer ran away. Yes, that's very common. When I came to South Africa here, 3 Zimbabwean guys were made to crawl under a road. They were laying pipes, and the whole thing collapsed on them. And the employer also ran away that very day. And I was actually at the scene. And then Noma says, who owns the villas? Why is the area named ED City? Yes, this is a Zimbabwean government project, but Mnangagwa has taken over the project. And then Noma says ANC would defend ZANU-PF. Remember in 2008, as it is, ZANU-PF is said to have donated 3 million to ANC for elections. Yes, I believe the future is not over there. The future is with the Zimbabweans. Zimbabweans have to do what is necessary. And 17 and 18 August, it's a black swan. Zimbabweans must demonstrate against Mnangagwa, and they must make sure that he steps down that time. So if every Zimbabwean comes out during the 17th and 18th of August, when foreign leaders are in Zimbabwe, the Mnangagwa will not be able to do anything, will not be able to use violence. So I hope that the people that are in charge of organizing these things are listening to me. This is the time to make sure that you organize the biggest demonstration to show everyone in the world that you're not happy with what's happening. If those days pass quietly, you can forget about Mnangagwa being forced to the table, because currently they're ignoring everything. Sadak is ignoring their own report. AU is quiet. No one can do anything if the Zimbabweans continue to be quiet, if the Zimbabweans continue to be silent. So make plans. That week of 17 and 18 August is a critical week for something to happen, for Mnangagwa to step down, not a demo that stops, but a demo that goes forever. And I'm going to be over there in Zimbabwe. I'm going to make sure that everything is covered. So you're going to get coverage from me from Zimbabwe. So thank you very much, everyone, for watching, and a good day to you all. Please go and watch the post-mortem that we did for Pastor Tafmane Masaya. We've received the post-mortem which showed how he died. Please go and watch that. It's on Gambakwe YouTube channel. Thank you very much. And